suspension rate among these males? What are you doing to increase the graduation rates? And what are you doing to decrease these suspension rates? That's what you need to talk about.
Yes, I want to follow up with an education question. Our last panel, we were asked this question. FCAT is another hot button education topic, and right now there's talk of removing the FCAT system. If elected to the Senate, how will you go to Tallahassee to develop a plan to properly evaluate our students with the guarantee that they're getting the education that will make them successful going forward?
Well, you know, we have some pretty big disagreements, but probably not on the FCAT. You know, I do believe that we need to help all students, not just 19 students. We need to help all the thousands of students in Palm Beach County schools. You can't do that by taking money away and sending it off to private schools, whether they're rich or elite or not. As it relates to the FCAT, you know, this is very simple. The FCAT just hasn't worked, folks. And everybody in this room knows it. We need to have accountability, but we don't need to have a system that focuses solely on teaching to the test and doesn't allow us to teach critical thinking skills. How many of your students go, thank you, how many of your students go out into the world and take tests day after day? They don't, but that's what we're teaching them. We're teaching them to take tests. It's wrong, it's wrong. And what we're doing is we're creating a legion of test takers, but not people who can go out and think critically and who can survive in a working world today. We need to get rid of the FCAT and go back to a schoolhouse where teachers control how they teach in their classrooms for the best education of our children and our communities.
This is one of those questions that we really both agree on. We need to basically eliminate the FCAT completely. But at the same time, we still need to make sure that we close this achievement gap that is widening. So we need to continue, even though when we eliminate the FCAT, we need to make sure that our kids are continuing to learn and that they have the proper education. So this is what we have to continue to do.
Thank you. What directions will you give to the school board and the superintendents to help to improve the graduation rate of the African American and Hispanic males that you've both spoken of?
Well, for me, I have two kids who are in the public school system, and I believe that we need to continue to work on early childhood education. Our kids, when they start in 5th grade, and not in 5th grade, when they start in kindergarten, if they have not been in a school environment, they would be completely behind. So we need to fund as much as possible VPK. We need to make sure that I would say from 2 to 5, that they're in a school setting environment. In Palm Beach County, we need to have more early childhood academies. We're starting to continue to do that. So this is something that I would really advocate with the school board, with our school board members, for us to fund more early childhood academies so these kids do not get behind at the early age. Thank you.
We need to get back to community schools. I understand the importance of magnet schools and drawing students into schools and the importance of certain job training, but remember what we had when we had community schools that we could all take pride in? When we had the ability to send our student just down the street and get a quality education, and not have to send them halfway across the county or accept students from halfway across the county. I understand the importance of magnet schools, but we need schools that we can take pride in as a neighborhood. Let me tell you what happened in Lake Worth, where I was the mayor. We had a high school there that was an F school, and the community pulled together to go there after school and on weekends to raise the grade of that school up because we wanted it to be a true community school. If we don't have that in every community across Palm Beach County, we're selling our kids short. And I think the best way for us to make sure that members of the minority community are able to raise their graduation rates is to have them involved in a school where their community is invested in that school, where they're involved in that school. And I think that's the best answer.
As House representatives, how well did your district do in getting a fair appropriation of state resources as a percentage of the revenue generated by the federal government?
As a percentage of the revenue generated by the federal government, I'm not sure I can answer that question. It's a pretty detailed one. But we were successful in being able to get funds appropriated for the Lake Worth Lagoon project in order to be able to clean up the lagoon and the problems that we've had in the water there and the water quality issues. And we were also successful in bringing some water quality projects as well to the city. So it's not just about the percentage of the federal government, but are you going after those state dollars? I worked when I was the mayor of Lake Worth as well with the federal government to bring down a $23 million grant to rehab foreclosed housing and abandoned housing on the west side of the city. So I think there are a lot of different ways you can work with both the feds and with the people in Tallahassee. But I think what we also have to keep in mind is, let's be real, the Republicans control the purse strings up there. And so we need to make sure that we recognize that, and we need to get more Democrats elected in the state of Florida if we want to make sure that we're bringing money back to our communities.
Well, I have the same answer regarding as a percentage to the federal dollars. I don't know the answer.
Well, we're not asking you what percentage of the federal dollars is, but how did you do in bringing back federal government gives the state of Florida dollars? How well did you do in making sure that your community got a portion of those dollars?
Okay, well, for instance, you have the state of Florida was recently awarded the SSBCI, which is the State Small Business Credit Initiative. $93 million was sent to the state of Florida. And I've been working with the Department of Economic Opportunity to try to bring some of those dollars down. It's been a hassle working with them because in their application to bring those dollars down, they use the Black Business Investment Corporations as a model to be able to get the dollars down. However, they didn't allocate any of those dollars to the Black Business Investment Corporations or to the CDFIs, the nonprofit CDFIs. So I've been working to try to make sure that the BBICs are able to allocate some of those dollars and to be able to give them to the nonprofit CDFI. So this is something that we're working on to continue to pull those dollars coming in.
Relationships are extremely important. What relationships will you seek to have as a senator? What will help you as a senator? What relationships do you feel will be most beneficial?
Thank you very much. Well, the relationship is really with our constituents, the people who sent us to Tallahassee. Because when everyone who goes out and vote on August 14th, you're voting for to send someone to make those decisions. There are tough decisions that we do have to make in Tallahassee. There's a lot of people who are unemployed that we need to make sure that they get employment. So that's why I've been working on the inland port for the past 3 years to make sure that we create jobs in Palm Beach County. And that's the reason why I sit on Transportation Economic Development Appropriations to make sure that I brought dollars back to the district that I represent. And that's the reason why I work with the Black Business Investment Corporations to make sure that we continue to create dollars that will lend to small businesses. So I've created those relationships in Tallahassee. I've gone there for the past 3 years, and I've passed over 15 bills in the past 3 years, and that's because of the relationship that I've built in Tallahassee. Thanks.
Well, I think the relationships first start in your own party. You've got to establish relationships with your own leadership. I have a great relationship with the incoming Senate Minority Leader Chris Smith, and I'll work very closely with him. I also have good relationships with other Democrats who are running for Senate seats around the state. I've been endorsed by Representative Dwight Bullard, a prominent member of the Black Caucus in Tallahassee. I've been endorsed by Geraldine Thompson, also a prominent member of the Black Caucus in Tallahassee. So you have to make sure that you establish relationships within your caucus first, before you establish relationships with Republicans. And look, this is a double-edged sword. I mean, you want to be able to establish relationships with Republicans, but let's be honest, they're beating us over the head. They're the ones who are bringing forward all these bad bills year after year after year. And it's tough to maintain a good relationship when you want to fight hard against those terrible election bills, when you want to fight hard against the corporate tax cuts, when you want to fight hard against taking money away from our public schools. You've got to be able to find a way to do that. And when I was the mayor of the city of Lake Worth, I had an anarchist on my right and a Republican on my left, and we were able to get things done, and I think I can do the same thing. I've shown I can do the same thing in Tallahassee.
We're making key decisions about projects for economic impact within our community. What do you consider beyond the basic benefits in your analysis?
make sure I understand the question, just so it's clear. When I make a decision about any type of project in the community, what are the things that I consider?
Besides, we all understand your basic considerations, but how do you go outside the box to guarantee that decision-making process is going to guarantee success for your community?
Well, there's no substitute for hard work, and you've got to put in the work. But look, I base every decision I make as a state representative on how I think it's going to affect my constituents. And you know, the truth is you got to be careful up in Tallahassee. There are some really big business interests up there. Associated Industries of Florida, that's the big insurance lobby. The Chamber of Commerce is a vast right-wing lobby. Those are the groups that are coming after me in this election. So, you know, I always am very careful about how I deal with those groups. But when I make these decisions, when I make decisions that are about projects that are related to economic development within my community, I only have one decision to make, and that is, does it benefit the people I represent? Not people outside of the district, not people in Tallahassee, not people in Miami, but does it benefit the people within the district that I represent? And, you know, if you do that, then they're going to re-elect you and you're going to get to go back. If you don't do that, you'll be finding another job.
Well, my opponent has mentioned AIF and the Florida Chamber of Commerce, and I've looked at his campaign report, and all of those interest group has given money to him. So, so he's using those money also. All right, so let's just be fair. You've used their money. I've seen some of those corporations were part of the chamber and AIF. So you've received their money. All right, so that's the first thing. Additionally, how I make my decisions is I really rely on the people that I represent, and I usually, before sessions start, I usually have a meeting with most of my constituents to talk about what are the issues that are important for us to address in Tallahassee. And when I get back, I always do town halls so we can discuss exactly issues that has transpired in Tallahassee. And I think even with the Urban League, we've done a post-session report here just to make sure everyone who's here would know exactly what transpired in Tallahassee. So that way you get to hear from me in terms of what happened in Tallahassee. And so this is how I make my decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. When you do make your decisions, can you tell me how much of that is based off of the endorsements or the contributions that are received from those that have contributed
Well, I have a saying that, you know, I can have dinner with you, we can drink wine, and I'm still going to vote against you the next day. And that's the way that I approach every decision in Tallahassee. People have contributed to my campaign. The Florida Chamber has contributed to my campaign. What I can tell you is that 2 of their most important bills last year, I was important in terms of killing those bills. When the insurance companies and the Florida Chamber wanted to make sure that they eliminate bad faith, I sat on the, which committee, let me make sure, the Health and Human Services? Health and Human Services Committee. And I was in that committee to make sure that it was killed. No, it wasn't the bad faith. Bad faith was killed in civil justice this year. So I was in there making sure that I worked with everyone in that room to make sure that we killed that bill. And this was against the Florida Chamber and against the insurance industry. When the insurance industry last year, they ran the bill to try to, oh, my time is up, sorry.
This is the most important question of the night, because I'm endorsed and I get money from unions and from civil rights organizations. My opponent liked to gloss over the Florida Chamber and the AIF connection, but you need to know, he's right. I did take contributions from some individual members of the Chamber, but I'm certainly not endorsed, nor will I ever want an endorsement from the Chamber of Commerce or Associated Industries of Florida like he has. And let me tell you why. They are the 2 big business lobbies in Tallahassee. If you want someone who's up there fighting for people and not fighting for big business, not voting to give $800 million worth of corporate tax breaks to big business, not voting to take money and give it to private schools, you should be voting for the person who is endorsed by the unions and by the civil rights organizations. It's that simple. If you've been following your mailboxes, you know that 4 of the first pieces that have come from my opponent's campaign, hit pieces on me, have been paid for by Associated Industries of Florida. That is the big insurance lobby. There is a reason that big insurance wants Mac Bernard in Tallahassee and does not want Jeff Clemens in Tallahassee.